Alright, so in the book of Revelation, Jesus refers to himself as the Alpha and Omega. So what is this expression, the Alpha and the Omega? Well, Alpha is the first Greek letter of the Greek alphabet, as I've said before. Omega is the last letter of the Greek alphabet. So uh, Jesus is saying he's the beginning and the end. He's the total package. He's the full Monty. He is everything. So you have to know a little bit about the Greek language, that the Greek alphabet begins with alpha, ends with omega, to really understand what Jesus is saying there in that passage. Another example where Greek language can help us is in the Gospel according to John, chapter 1, verse 1, which says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." So the term word, W-O-R-D, in Greek is logos, lambda, omicron, gamma, omicron, sigma, L-O-G-O-S. And although some people may disagree with this, I think part of what John is trying to say by referring to Jesus as the Logos was tying in Jesus to the Neoplatonic view in Neoplatonism, in the philosophy of Plotinus and his followers. Logos is a very important concept. So I think that is something that John would agree with in part, the Neoplatonic Logos philosophy. And by the way, Logos is where we get the term logic, um, or the suffix ology, like biology. Bios, beta, iota, omicron, sigma is the Greek term for life. Ology, science, life science. Biology is life science. Psychology would be soul science. Um, so, ology, logic, it all points back to Christ. And the final example I wanted to give is from the Old Testament, so this would be Hebrew in the original language, not Greek but Hebrew. And this is 2 Kings chapter 2. Let's see. Whoops. Let's get to the right book here. All right, 2 Kings chapter 2. This is speaking of the prophet Elijah, and he comes to a place called, a city, I guess, called Bethel. Beth, or Bet, B-E-T-H, is the second Hebrew letter, their version of B, the letter B. It means house. El, like Elohim. El means God. So Bethel is house of God. And this that I'm going to read, it's a favorite passage of critics of Christianity. They will say what a sadistic monster God is for doing this, which I'm going to read about in a moment. All right, so let's see, starting in verse 23, speaking of Elijah, it says, "And he went up from thence unto Bethel, and as he was going up by the way, there came forth little children out of the city, and mocked him, and said unto him, Go up, thou bald head, go up, thou bald head. And he turned back, and looked on them, and cursed them in the name of the Lord. And there came forth 2 she-bears out of the wood, and tare 42 children of them." So the skeptic says, look, here are some little children. They're innocently teasing a man about being bald, and God kills them with 2 female bears in a very vicious and violent way. Well, I looked up the term little children in my lexicon, in Strong's appendix, and it's number 5288. One way to translate little children is young man. So the King James is very misleading sometimes in how it translates things. So I think what's going on here is not that there were little children, but that there were young men. A young man could be 18, 19, 20 years old, who came and they were going to violently assault Elijah, and also they were calling into question his role as a prophet. Um, so knowing what the Hebrew term is, um, which, as I said, can be legitimately translated as young man or young men instead of little children, helps us to better understand what's really going on in that passage, and avoid in that way, avoid the uh, skeptical arguments of the anti-theists. All right, so um, that's just a few brief examples of how the original language can help us. A lot of other examples could be given, but that's enough just to um, illustrate the point that yes, we do need to have some access to a knowledge of Greek and Hebrew to understand the Bible more clearly and more fully and more accurately. And next, we'll take a look at the different genres in the Bible. And actually, most of the genres in the Bible um, are very different from the genres that we're familiar with today in contemporary books. So it's necessary to know about these more ancient genres um, in order to understand the Bible correctly, um, because we will mistake them for more modern genres and read them as though they were more modern genres, and that will uh, get us to misinterpret what the Bible is trying to say. So genres is what I'm going to look at next, and then after that we'll be almost done with this series on hermeneutics. Shalom out.